Over the course of my trucking career, which spanned some 48 years, I did many different kinds of trucking. I hauled dry boxes, I hauled fuel tankers, I hauled chemical tankers, I did a little bit of flatbed work, I did a little bit of closed car carrier work, but mostly I did reefer work. And I was a company driver, I was a Teamster briefly, I was an owner operator, and finally I became an independent with my own operating authority, and I still have that operating authority today. And now that I'm older, I look back and think, what would I do differently? One of the best things I like about GP Transco is that they are clear, transparent, and honest with their drivers. And that's really hard to find in today's trucking industry. Check them out at gptransco.com. I started my driving career at 16 years old because even at 16 years old, I always had wanderlust. And I figured long haul trucking was a great way to satisfy that wanderlust, see the country, and get paid for it. So as soon as I could get my license, I got it and I started trucking. And I loved over the road long haul trucking. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. But over the years, I could see long haul trucking developing a cancer that seemed to catch on and spread through the industry. And the federal and state governments came up with more and more rules as the years went by. And the mega carriers got more and more of a grip on the shippers and convinced them to go with them because they would haul their freight cheaper. And the cost of everything kept going up and up and up. The cost of the fuel, the cost of the trucks, the cost of the trailers, the cost of the tires, the cost of everything. So it got to the point where more and more of the people that actually drove the trucks, more and more of the men and women that drove the trucks were making less and less money every year. And it got to the point that it's the mess that long haul trucking is today, where you get the average truck driver in long haul trucking making $47,000 a year and CEOs making millions of dollars a year. CEOs and companies and carriers and organizations so powerful that they can influence government policy on trucking. And as much as I love the trucking lifestyle, I decided that I wanted to truck for myself. I didn't want to be controlled by others. And that just wasn't what I had signed up for. So I retired early and got out of the industry. I enjoyed it, but I got out at the right time. And now that I'm retired, I've been able to look back and see what would I do differently if I had to do it all over again. And now that I'm retired, I retired into a small town. I live in a small town. And I have time to talk to my friends that did local trucking jobs that live in this small town. And they say to me, gee, it must have been great to be in California or Arizona every other week. They must have really thought that was something special. And I said, yeah, it was good, but you guys got local jobs, you guys got pensions, you guys retired early, and now you've got pensions, and I do not. So something that I would do differently now is I would take a serious look at short haul local trucking simply because of the benefits and the pensions and the pay by the hour. It's just a better way to go these days. So if I had it to do over, I'd get a local job driving for, the township or hydro or something like that. Something that got me home every night, something I could be with my family, and something that I would retire with a pension. And if I had done that, I probably could have used that pension money to buy myself a Peterbilt rather than to blow my guts out over the years working 100 hours a week trying to pay for the trucks that I had owned. So there's something I would do differently. And I've got a story about that. It's kind of interesting to me, but when I sit down with these friends of mine that have done nothing but local trucking, and one of the questions that would come up every once in a while was, well, how did you not get lost? How could you go 2,000 or 3,000 miles away from home and find your way and know where you were going? How did you do that? That just mystified them. Because most of my trucking was in the days before the GPS ever came along. And most of these guys had done local trucking in part because they always knew where they were going and they found security in that. And they were kind of mystified by the fact that I would just travel across the country and then find a shipper 2,500 miles away. How did I do that? And you know, it's interesting because I never even thought of that. I never even worried about that. I just knew, you know, that the interstate system in the States was great. There were maps back then. You carried a roll of dimes and called for directions when you got close. But it amazed me that a lot of these local guys never considered over-the-road trucking because they were worried about getting lost. Stay safe, keep the rubber side down, seriously consider getting a trucking job with a pension at the end of it. And I'll see you on the backhaul.